Phone is yours, Dr. Ammar.
Thank you very much. So we have our final session before lunch. So we'll try to make it short and sweet. So we have a very important topic, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Of course, today's panel tackles a question that sits at the heart of governance, growth, social progress, especially in our region. On the one hand, it might seem like a bit of a cliche, but it's a very important question and topic that we need to talk about, keep the conversation going, perhaps have a reality check, and revisit every now and then. So we'll start our panel discussion with a question posed to Professor Monomita, who's with us from Brunel University of London. And the question for Professor Monomita is, from your perspective, is there a risk to importing Western leadership models that don't fit the local context? So you're coming from Brunel. Should we look at British models to solve our solutions in the MENA region? Should we look at American models? Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I think. And thank you. It's a great question, and I strongly believe that we should not follow any. There is no single model that we can follow everywhere. So we have to kind of adjust with the local needs. And if we bring in the American model or the British model, it might not work in the MENA region because it might not be able to capture the local needs. So I would strongly recommend not to copy paste like the Western model. Rather, what we can do is we can capture some best practices which are followed in different setup, and then see that how that model could be applied in current context. Because I have seen over years that the US model or the Western models are more focused towards individual empowerment, whereas when we see the model in MENA region, it's more towards a trust-based, and they respect the hierarchy, and it's more community-oriented. So it's a little bit different here because of the current differences in the needs of the society. So I would strongly recommend that we pick up the good practices and blend that with the local needs to make it more effective.
Beautiful answer. Thank you very much. I completely agree. I think we need to very much learn from the models that exist, but we need to develop our own that are sensitive to the region's own particularities, to the particular hierarchy in the region. And in fact, tomorrow we have on the sidelines of the conference, our doctoral symposium with Brunel University, and we have a full track that tackles leadership and women in leadership roles in the Middle East, and new theories and topics and areas to research, such as silent leadership, which I think is a very resonant issue these days in the Middle East. So moving on to Dr. Samar Soliman. What is your opinion of representation quotas? Is this the solution? Is this what we need to adopt in the Middle East to push for women empowerment and true decision making?
Thank you for the question. I would say they are policy tools to accelerate women's representation in leadership. But I can see that you can take the gender requirement with this tool. You can actually set structured mechanisms in place, some measures in place. And also from the institutional perspective, it does break the historical barriers of underrepresentation of women in leadership. However, I can see that it fixes the representation, but it doesn't fix leadership models. So it doesn't fix behaviors, organizational culture, the mindset itself. So I would say to be successful in using them, it will need to be paired with leadership development programs. It needs to be paired with talent pipeline programs, organizational culture training, also redesigning the whole system to be applicable. And modern leadership development providers are actually focusing on this now. And this is the kind of multidisciplinary teams I collaborate with across the globe, focusing on such training programs. So I would say quotas, they open the door for representation, but actually system redesign and also the leadership development training keep this door open.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samar. I agree. This is a very interesting tool that is always proposed as one of the solutions, but it's never enough. It just solves part of the problem, and it needs a whole systems thinking approach and a multi-pronged solution. So moving on from perhaps somewhat of a more British perspective to a more local perspective now with Dr. Layla Al Halwachi. Dr. Layla, I know you have started your research journey and career looking into many research or important topics related to the glass ceiling and related to women empowerment. And I'm very curious, personally, to hear today, how do you see the glass ceiling today? What has changed since the time you conducted your research, approximately 2015, I want to say, up to today, more than 10 years later?
Thank you, Dr. Ammar. In fact, my perspective about the glass ceiling has changed because globally it has changed. For instance, when I started my PhD in 2012, we were talking about gender discrimination and empowerment. Now, we don't use the word empowerment anymore because it's like offending women. Because women will say we are already empowered, so don't say that we need empowerment. And don't talk about discrimination. We are talking, we replace these terminologies to diversity and inclusion. Even my thesis title has changed towards the end. For example, in the beginning, it was about gender discrimination, but towards the end, when I finished in 2016, the title has changed to gender diversity. Even my paradigm has immensely, it has changed. So where was the glass ceiling and where it has evolved? Actually, this is my area, the glass ceiling. I'm fascinated about it. Even in my thesis, I've generated a model for the glass ceiling for the MENA region because the model that we have in the Western countries, it's not applicable to our norms and culture. The glass ceiling, when I was doing my PhD, actually the glass ceiling existed and it was more visible. However, now with the coping mechanism, it became more subtle than being explicit. And the glass ceiling, now it has changed because now we have more women at the middle managerial position. Because when I was doing my PhD, actually we were revolving about that we don't have women even at the middle managerial position. So now the middle managerial position is now occupied. So now we are working at the C-suite or the board. Still, we find we have unconscious bias in promotions because still women are seen as a token in this position. I'm not actually trying to offend women with that, but still we are talking about coping mechanism. But however, the glass ceiling is not like before because the middle managerial level It's now we can say we have equality. However, at the higher managerial level, still there is inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Layla. The situation has definitely changed since the beginning of the millennium in Bahrain, especially with the directions and directives of the Supreme Council for Women in Bahrain. And I can't agree more. The terminology is quite important, and we have evolved our own terminology in Bahrain beyond women empowerment to women advancement. And so we're looking at equal opportunity and ways to advance and remove barriers in relation to discrimination or issues related to the progression of women. So to zone in a little further on the situation of women in Bahrain with our expert from the Royal University for Women, Dr. Fajer Danish. What can you tell us about the reality of women's representation today in terms of leadership, decision-making across the MENA? How has this changed, in fact, over the last decade?
Assalamu alaikum, first of all. مساكم الله بالخير. Good afternoon. I would be applauding all of the speakers on the panel today. However, I do have a lot of comments on what I've heard. First of all, we're very proud and honored to have the Supreme Council for Women in Bahrain. We do have our own strategies. We do work on advancing, let's say, women. Dr. Layla was correct. It's not empowering anymore, it's advancing. And this has also been shifted through the Supreme Council for Women. What we have reached today, let's say, in Bahrain, I won't really be speaking about the MENA in general. I'd be speaking more of the GCC, let's say. Bahrain was a pioneer برئاسة صاحبة السمو الملكي الأميرة سبيتش بنت إبراهيم قرينة عهد البلاد المفدى رئيسة مجلس الأعلى للمرأة. Other than that, or after taking Bahrain as the first in the GCC, we went to see L'Imarat, UAE, we went to see Qatar, and we went to see Saudi. All of them have added those to their vision and strategy of 2030. So we have reached to a spectacular position with Bahrainis, whether they're women or men. We do not have the glass ceiling that we speak about 10 years ago, مثل ما قالت الدكتورة, which is correct. Other than that, I'd be proudly saying that I have worked on the GEM report of 2024-2025, and women are around 100% on that report, able to employ themselves, be sole entrepreneurs, and monitor, decide, employ by themselves. So if I'd be going to the extra mile, I'd be saying, speaking about women is a cliche per se. However, she does need a bit of, let's say, help in understanding or getting more policies that would help her not to get recruited, however, in maintaining and retaining herself in a busy work-life balance. So women now in Bahrain, in MENA, in the GCC, most of them do leave work مو مضغوطين ولا بشيء إنه منغصب عليهم. It's not because of them being pressured from the third parties or any other party. It's because of them being more motivated towards their life, how the work-life balance or even their family matters. So it's only us motivating each other, not men or women, as a society, in order for us to show that you're not alone as a woman trying to build your family. It's the man and the woman and the family itself with the policies that we do see. I'll speak about Bahrain. Do see visible in Bahrain. عندنا قوانين كثيرة تدعم المرأة. And that's again, thanks to the Supreme Council for Women. However, we would be needing them more because within the GEM reports, what happened is most of the women that left work كامل إرادتهم, stopped their businesses بكامل إرادتهم, was because of them simply wanting to finish either raising their kids or being with their kids. So it's just a matter of having flexibility, let's say. So if I would, I had this short line that I had to have in Bahraini women, and as a Bahraini woman, we are no longer building the case for women's leadership, we are only refining it. So I would be closing by that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fajer. Of course, the progress that has been made in Bahrain has been thanks to the strategies, national strategies, including strategies set out by the Supreme Council for Women, and the mainstreaming of the culture of equal opportunity, which is one of the key or at the heart of the mission of the Supreme Council for Women. And so today we see most institutions, governmental entities, private entities such as Ahlia University having an equal opportunity committee at the level of at the highest level of the organization, chaired by the president. And so I completely agree. It's about once again, coming back to the topic of the conference, equal opportunity, not necessarily equality of outcome. It's not necessarily about having women represented in terms of having a particular percentage, but about removing the obstacles and the barriers when a woman decides to take either maternity leave or certain practice certain prerogatives in her life. And coming to the last round of questions with a more future-oriented perspective then, and putting on our academic hats, so to speak. The question goes to Professor Monomita. So going forward, should business schools create more specialized programs and specialized tracks for women leadership, or should they just rewrite the whole core MBA or postgraduate program structures altogether?
Yeah, a very good question. I would say not to distinguish between men and women. And I would prefer not to set up a different pathway for female students because then men and women, if they are in the same framework, if they are addressing the same question or the same challenges, they would learn better that what are the barriers, what are the challenges that my female colleague could face in future. And equally, that men also got their own challenges. So I would prefer to build an inclusive system and kind of acknowledge the diversity in that system. So if we can teach our future generation that you have to appreciate the challenges your colleagues are going through in their personal life, and as my fellow colleagues were mentioning, that how we could balance our personal life with our work life. So unless and until we work together under the same roof, under the same framework, we would not learn. So I would strongly recommend that we shouldn't set up a separate pathway, but rather if we do more group activities with people from different gender and going beyond men and women gender, any gender, I am quite open towards the other gender also. So everyone got their own challenges. So I think an inclusive, diverse system would be really good. And in Brunel University, I can boldly mention here that we are taking care of the diversity. You know that we are very diverse community, and we always try to embed the inclusivity and diversity in every program. So even if any student is following our program, they would see those features there, so there would be no problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Monomita. I know it's a very hot topic still in education. It's an old question, and yet it remains an important question. Do we create specialized tracks? I mean, we see the likes of Harvard having specialized programs for women, and yet we see competing and different philosophies. And I guess the beauty is in the diversity. And so my question goes to Dr. Samar. Again, looking towards the future, in the next decade, how do you see the role of business schools in terms of, do you see them as being the gatekeepers of elite networks, or should they be architects of more open, merit-driven leadership?
Thank you. For now, we've made the progress already. Business schools. If you look at the percentages of women joining our MBA programs, it increased already to 42% as for 2025. So this is a huge progress. But still, if you look at what happens after they graduate for postgraduate pathways, we can see that still they still favor men. So we still have a problem. So elite networking is not enough without structure support. So what we're doing now, business schools are trying, like higher education institutions, Teesside International Business School, from where I'm coming from, included. We're looking at mentorship and sponsorship programs, looking at inclusivity within the curriculum itself, not just about enrollment numbers, so it's within. And this is actually will improve the result when it comes to going to the community, engaging with the community and all that. So before, we used to have to face this problem that people stick to their own circles, so which is dominated by men, or it used to be. And then outside, like women in this case, would advance, but slowly. So, and that's why business schools, we are all responsible for providing support that's institutional, that's evidence-based. Also, it needs to be tracked in order to improve the situation. So, to answer your question, of course, in the future, we're aware of the requirements of the future. And so we're ready to be part of the, the national movement to improve it and to shape it.
Thank you, Dr. Samar. Going beyond the numbers and really touching on the truth of the matter, finding the stories behind, having some kind of qualitative evidence is very important these days, not only to understand the problem, but also to find the success stories and really celebrate them. My question now goes to Dr. Layla Al Halwachi. Are universities in the MENA region truly preparing women for leadership? Or are they just preparing them for professional participation and shifting the burden onto organizations and industry?
Thank you, Dr. Ammar. In fact, universities at the MENA region I can see that in Saudi Arabia, because the glass ceiling is becoming now more relaxed. A few years back, it was more stressed. So they have been working on a lot of programs to prepare women. I've seen at some programs in UAE, they were tailored for women. And there are special universities which is only for women, preparing women, and to focus on more leadership programs and diversity and inclusion. However, I still believe that we have to integrate that partnership between programs for men and women, because we believe that they complete each other. We don't need to have like one program for women because they need more empowerment or that. So we have to integrate the program together and bring it inclusive, that it's for empowering, like, for example, the whole society under the name of diversity and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Layla. And to follow up on that note with Dr. Fajer, so where do you see the role of business schools when it comes to promoting leadership in relation to women? Is this something that should be focused on more so at the recruitment stage, promotion stage, or retention stage?
I would say, Dr. Ammar, first of all, you have cheeky questions. And you have 4 women on the panel. As a assistant professor in the Royal University for Women, I would say that we do have almost more than half of the girls in the College of Business and Law. So no, men and women are supposed to study the same things. And based on the GEM report again, 2024-2025, we have 46% of women in Bahrain now that are ready and highly qualified, graduated from STEM courses. As for the recruitment retention, as I stated earlier, we're fine with the recruitment. We're only looking at retaining females in order for them to have that work-life balance.
Thank you very much. I think that's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you to our experts and panel members. And we end our program here, and we'll be heading to lunch. A picture, please. Thank you very much.